All right. And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder. This is week 5. I guess we get started. UCLA Washington game Friday night, September 30th, last game of the September. And UCLA won 40-32. Washington put on a good show a few weeks ago against Michigan State.
And Washington looked pretty good in this game. I watched most of this. I fell asleep kind of towards the end, which sucks. But UCLA, they played pretty well. They got a lot of transfers on that squad. They got a tight end, played really good, Bobo, and then the running back, Charbonnet, is a kid transferred from Michigan. So they played well. I was really surprised, though. Their QB is a fifth-year guy, and he played well. But I was really surprised because Washington's a good football team. Mm-hmm. They looked good. Penix looks awesome. But he had a couple of turnovers. And can't have turnovers.
No.
One or two you can maybe get away with, but not against teams like UCLA, decent conference game. But both teams look pretty good. Wide receivers look real big and physical on both teams. So it was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, UCLA is going to be interesting, and Washington's still around, so we'll see what happens.
Conference lost, but, they're in separate divisions. So, they're still alive, possibly, for the conference title.
Mm-hmm. Moving right along, game we watched yesterday, Georgia against Mizzou. Georgia won in the end, 26-22. Stetson Bennett was off, but he still threw for 312 yards.
He looked a little out of sorts. Credit Missouri, they came to play with a great game plan. And right off the bat, there was it was a 3-and-out for Georgia when they got the football, but the very next possession, they fumbled. 38-yard run play right up the gut, and running back's running about midfield. Guy comes up behind him, pops the ball out. Complete momentum shift, and things kind of snowballed for Georgia from there in the first half. But Missouri came ready to play with a great game plan, really stacked the box, forced Bennett to throw the football, and since they were pressuring him, he didn't have a lot of time. Georgia, though, came back. The elite athletes they have kind of took over in the second half. They were able to run the ball a lot better in the second half. They were down by 10, came back, won the game. I thought Georgia's defense, for the most part, played pretty well. They gave up 2 or 3 big plays, and then another big play that was like a broken play that the guy just kind of threw it up in the air on a prayer, and the dude caught it. But I felt that the offense for Georgia really put their defense in a lot of bad positions, and the defense bailed them out for the most part. Missouri has a field goal kicker that's going to make a lot of money in the NFL. That dude was awesome.
Yeah.
270, 280-pound kicker. But, dude, he was knocking back 50-plus yarders like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought Missouri played what amounted to would be a perfect game for them.
Yeah.
They played a football all day long, and they just ran out of horses.
They had no turnovers, okay? They got the football on a long run where Georgia's DB got the guy down at the 1-yard line. So first and goal, ready to punch it in for 6. False start, drops them back. They got to settle for a field goal. That was huge. And then on a long pass play, that was like a 3rd and long, they grabbed the face mask of one of Georgia's linebackers coming through line of scrimmage, so that negated a first down. So 2 costly penalties basically killed them.
Yeah.
But they had no turnovers. So you got to play clean football.
Yep.
And credit to Missouri, like I said,
They played good.
Played great. They brought their A game for the defending national champions. But I got to give credit to Georgia too. That's a young football team. They rallied and got the job done.
On the road. Yeah. Jalen Carter's going to be out a few weeks probably.
Yeah, it looked like a suspicious
shot block.
Yeah, suspicious is not the right word for it. It was. It was basically illegal.
It is pretty illegal.
And it looks like he's out with a knee injury for quite some time, if not the season. So,
all right. Well, we'll move on. We'll move right along. Alabama versus Arkansas. Alabama, of course, won 49-26. This game was a little closer for a second there in the second half. Bryce Young went down with a sprained AC joint. I think that's what it's called.
And Nick Saban said he's had it before, and like a few days later he's fine. So I expect him back this coming week against A&M. 28-0 was what this game was at one point. Arkansas made a game of it. They got to give them credit. They came back, had a beautiful textbook onside kick, scored a couple touchdowns that way. I thought KJ Jefferson looked pretty good. Yeah. I've been critical of him this season so far due to his turning it over inside the 5-yard line against A&M, which basically was a 14-point swing. But he looked pretty good yesterday, hitting some receivers on some clutch throws. But Alabama clearly number one team in the country, in my opinion. They look really, really good. Even when they're struggling, they're still really, really good.
Right.
Like you can tell they're struggling because you've been watching Alabama now for over a decade, but you also know that at any given second they're just going to just
Flip the switch.
Yeah, flip the switch and blow wide open.
And they can run the ball. Jamar Gibbs for 206.
Yeah, had two 70-plus yard TDs in the second half.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech transfer.
Yes. But they wish they had him right now.
Oh, yeah.
Moving right along, little interesting scuffle, or I guess Ryan Day and what's his face? Schiano had a little interaction there at the end of the game, but Ohio State dominated Rutgers 49-10.
5 touchdowns for running back for Ohio State, C.J. Stroud. I mean, Ohio State, them and Alabama, in my opinion, they're a great football team, but I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter today of Ohio State fans kind of chiming in with their opinions, but let's not, sugarcoat anything. Big Ten's not a great conference either. I mean, look at Iowa. Yeah. You got Michigan, is a good team. Penn State's not all that great. Michigan State sucks. So, I mean, they really shouldn't be talking. Right. But they got a great football team, easily beat Rutgers. I asked somebody that I thought would know today about Schiano and Day if they had any bad blood or if it was just like, in the heat of the moment, kind of in the game situation. And he said it's a little bit of both. I know that they coached together under Urban Meyer for a little bit, maybe. I could be wrong there. Schiano's been everywhere, but I'm not a big Ryan Day fan. This is not the first time something like this has happened with him. They blow out teams routinely, so you can kind of see where maybe, when you put your third string guys in, you can't just let them run up the gut every time. You got to give them a little something,
right.
And they bust their butts in practice, and you reward them. So I get where something's going to happen with a lopsided scores, or they're up by 40 and the guy scores again. But this was a fake punt. And like I said, this is not the first time this happened with Ryan Day. Great coach, has yet to win a national title, and he was in the top 2. It was him and Kirby Smart last year as like the best guys who haven't done it yet. Well, now Kirby Smart has. Ryan Day has yet to do so. I still think he can. Just because you haven't done it yet doesn't mean it's never going to happen. But there's something about that dude just kind of strikes me that he's kind of a jerk.
He's making enemies where he should.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I don't blame him. I'm not saying he's a bad dude. I'm just saying he strikes me as that kind of guy, and that doesn't have anything to do with his ability to coach a football team.
Yeah.
So a lot of people get all mad for me saying that, but he just strikes me as the kind of guy. Jimbo Fisher's another guy. Just strikes me as the kind of guy that he's probably an asshole.
Possibly. Michigan knocked off Iowa 27-14. I didn't see any of this.
I watched all this game. I have some really good friends that are big Michigan guys. I got a good buddy who was actually at the game.
Right.
Andy Green, friend of the show, he was at the game. One of his buddies is a huge Ohio State fan and lives in that area, so they got together and just drove out to Iowa for the game. Michigan looked good. They kind of let Iowa. I mean, it was never really in doubt. Really, it was 20 to I think 7.
Yeah.
And late in the fourth, and they kind of let Iowa get like a long drive going, and Iowa ended up not being able to score. And then Michigan went right down and like jammed it in the throat for a touchdown. But being the big time fans they were nervous. Like everybody is, unless you're an Alabama fan or Ohio State fan. You probably never really get nervous. The rest of us get nervous sometimes. We've been watching our teams for a long time. We know what they're about. We know certain teams have a tendency to choke, and they were afraid Michigan was going to do it. But Michigan looked good. Number 4 ranked team in the country, and I agree with that right now.
Okay. Number 5, Clemson knocked off NC State 30-20. This was a little closer than you would think. I mean, being Clemson ranked number 5, it seems like the margin of error between Clemson and everybody else in the ACC is kind of shrinking.
Yeah, but they're still clearly head and shoulders above everybody. This was their biggest test, in my opinion. And I watched this game this morning. Now, last week's game against Wake Forest went into double OT, high-scoring game. Clemson's DBs got had all day by Hartman. And NC State couldn't do that yesterday, or I should say yesterday, but I watched it today. They couldn't do that. There was some questionable calls. There were multiple fumbles by Clemson that were ruled not to be fumbles, and free play clearly shows balls were out.
On the ground.
I think it would have been closer. I don't think it really would have affected the outcome all that much, to be honest with you. DJ is awesome running the football. I still don't think he's the best passer there is. But look, they're Clemson. Brian Barisi didn't even play. They looked good. Defensive line was dominant. Whole defense as a whole was dominant. I got Carter for the inside linebacker, kid from Georgia. Barrett Carter, awesome yesterday. And Clemson, this was going to be, like I said, the toughest test, and they came through with flying colors at home. Another giant doucher of a coach, Dabo Sweeney. I just do not like that guy. Mm-hmm. Again, nothing that affects his ability to coach the football team. But I think if you've been watching college football long enough, you kind of know that he's kind of a dipshit. Mm-hmm. But big win.
Yep. USC, number 6 in the country, knocked off Arizona State. Caleb Williams, 348. Did you watch any of this one?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. I think I fell asleep last drank a little too much. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, look, Lincoln Riley's got things rolling. We talked about this last week. Mm-hmm. Caleb Williams and Mario come over with him. They know the offense. Mario scored a touchdown. Caleb threw it to him, scored a touchdown. They look good. They look like the number 60. And in fact, I'd put them ahead of Clemson, but Clemson's the more experienced team.
I think defense is definitely better.
Defense is better, obviously. They've got to, I picked USC to make the playoffs before the season started. My playoff predictions have changed, but I still think USC's getting in. But they got a tough schedule going on. That Pac-12 is deep, and there's some good teams, and I think they're going to get tested a bunch of times. They got tested last week, a little bit yesterday. Yeah. But they're a good football team. If I was doing the top 5, I'd have Alabama, Ohio State, then Georgia, then probably Michigan, then USC, then Clemson.
Next game was yesterday, the Kentucky-Ole Miss game. This is interesting. Mississippi, I guess it jumped out to a pretty good lead, and then Kentucky kind of made it interesting there at the end, but Mississippi survives 22-19.
Yeah, I watched this game as well. Been watching this channel for any length of time this season. I'm not a big Will Levis fan. I don't think Kentucky's as good this year as they were last year. But they're ranked number 7 in the country. Mm-hmm. Went down to Florida, got a nice win at the Swamp. Go into why is the name of the town eluding me now that Ole Miss is in for some reason?
Oxford.
Oxford, yeah. They go down to Oxford. They probably spent a little bit of time in the Grove. Started off slow, but Kentucky had this game won. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They missed, 2 field goals and a couple extra points. And they get down there at a beautiful wide receiver screen that gets them down in the red zone inside the 10, I think it was, or about the 11-yard line with about a minute left to go. Throw a touchdown pass, call back because the wide receiver wasn't set. Very next play, Will Levis holds on to the football way too long, fumbles, Ole Miss recovers, game over. Was one of those deals, like survive in advance kind of deal for Ole Miss, because I think Ole Miss had a chance to put this game on ice multiple possessions prior and couldn't do it. So 2 teams that are pretty good. I think they're going to be in the top 25 the rest of the season, but they've got some work to do, and I see a couple of losses remaining on both of their schedules. But fun game to watch.
Yeah. Oklahoma State knocked off Baylor 36-25.
I watched all this game as well. Oklahoma State's defense first half was lights out. Second half, they allowed a couple of big plays from Baylor, 2 long touchdown passes that kind of let Baylor hang around. It was a 2-score game. Then Baylor would score, make it a 1-score game, and then Oklahoma State, to their credit, punched right back, took the ball right down the field, scored on their own, scored a touchdown of their own, and made it another 2-score game. Then Baylor would come back. But this game really wasn't as close as the score would lead you to believe. Oklahoma State's defense is legit. Offense, when it's going well. Baylor's a good football team. But Oklahoma State's defense kind of carried the day for them yesterday. And, with Oklahoma going down, my preseason pick to win the conference, going down for the 2nd week in a row, which we'll get to in a minute. Oklahoma State and TCU are right there.
That's right.
Kansas State, I think, is also, I don't think they've lost in conference. Did they lose to Tulane or somebody?
I don't know, but Kansas is undefeated, and that's where game day is.
Yeah, Kansas as well.
Yeah. It's interesting.
They're going to be in Lawrence this weekend.
Yes.
I don't even know who they're playing.
Yeah. TCU.
All right. Because TCU won, beat the brakes off Oklahoma. That'd be a fun time. It's fun little game to watch.
Penn State knocked off Northwestern 17-7.
Yep, in the Hurricane, or what was left of it.
Yeah.
Utah looked pretty good against Oregon State. I watched just a little bit of that game.
Oregon knocked off Stanford.
Didn't watch a second of this game, but I should have because I hate Stanford. So good for Oregon. Way to beat Stanford. Flying Bo Nixes. Good job. 45-27.
The next game on this number 17, Texas A&M got knocked off by Mississippi State. Will Rogers looks awesome.
He does. He looks great. It's like he looks like the kind of dude that just doesn't give a shit. He's like, whether they're up by 30, down by 30, he's like, I'm slinging around like I'm Dan Marino.
That's right.
And he did.
Yeah.
You got to give him credit. Their defense looked really good. I think it was 14-0 at the half. We watched the end of this game. I don't like Texas A&M, and I love seeing them lose. I think Jimbo Fish is a fraud. Only reason he has a national championship is because he had Bobby Bowden's guys, and then he had a generational player in Jameis Winston. Won a national title with him. Gets all that money from A&M. I think he's a fraud. I think he can recruit pretty well when he's got all the money and the boosters behind him. So I love the fact that they're losing. They're going to lose this coming week to Alabama. I just know it. But fun to watch them lose. And I didn't want to jinx, so I didn't really watch a ton of this until the end. But I was kind of checking out the score a little bit. And then when it was kind of in hand, I was like, all right, I'm going to turn it and then revel in the Aggies'
And then,
defeat.
of course, we turned it over there, and then they just turned it on.
They scored a touchdown.
Pick six late. It was,
And there's no tradition in college football, to me, as lame as that night before where those dudes in overalls just look stupid. I don't even know what it's called, the midnight cheer thing. That's dumb. And it's even more stupid when they get their ass kicked.
Yeah. Speaking of ass kickings, TCU took it to Oklahoma yesterday.
And that was fun to watch as well. I'm not a big Oklahoma fan, but I did pick them.
Yeah, 55-24. TCU looked impressive.
They did. They were flying all over the place.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel went down, got cheap shot, was sliding down, giving himself up, and dude speared him in helmet-to-helmet contact, out of the game for targeting, and Dylan Gabriel's down for the count. So I feel bad for him, but I mean, they're in trouble. I thought they'd be a lot better under Bruce Venables defensively, and they're not. Same old Oklahoma.
Yep, we'll see. Maybe Venables wish he would have stayed in Clemson.
Maybe.
Moving right along, Minnesota lost to Purdue 20-10.
Thankfully, because all this week I heard on every college football talk show was, hey, Minnesota fans were writing in, can we start talking about Minnesota being ranked again? Well, guess what? Now we're not going to talk about it again because we're not going to be ranked.
Yeah, they're never going to be ranked again probably the rest of the season.
No.
Moving right along.
Decent football team, though. I mean, they're not bad. Nothing against them.
Wake Forest knocked off Florida State 31-21.
Didn't really watch any of this game. I expected Florida State to be a little bit more competitive in this game. I mean, it was. It was 28-7. They came back and made it 28-21. So they had some fight in them, but I really thought that demoralizing double overtime loss to Clemson the week before would kind of have Wake Forest looking a little sluggish, and that really wasn't the case. Hartman had a really nice day, throwing for a boatload of yards. But I like having Florida State being back pretty good, fairly good,
Georgia Tech knocked off Pittsburgh after losing their head coach this week. They rallied and they beat Pittsburgh.
Good for them.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be their lone bright spot this season. What the hell happened to Pittsburgh? I mean, they looked fairly decent first week. They played Tennessee kind of tough. ACC for you.
Yeah. Kansas State took on Texas Tech and beat them 37-28 after a big win at Texas was last week. Texas Tech screwed the pooch.
Adrian Martinez, I thought it was a completely different guy last week because he was so good against Oklahoma. I'm like, this can't be the same dude that was on Nebraska. And they actually talked about that this morning on the highlight show I was watching. He's at a place now where he's got all the confidence in the world. He's playing like it. Joins Cam Newton and what's the guy's name for Louisville? Lamar Jackson as like the only QB to run for X amount of yards and X amount of touchdowns, like in a 3-game span or something like that. It was pretty good company with those two Heisman Trophy winners. But good for them. Kansas State's looking good.
Yeah. Illinois has knocked off Wisconsin 34-10.
And the shocker of the week, Illinois is looking good.
Yeah.
Brett Bielema's not just a running football team anymore. They throw the football around a little bit in Illinois.
He might be good.
Jerry's happy.
Yeah.
I was talking to Jerry, watching watching this game yesterday morning.
Yeah.
Texting him, he was very excited about it. So good for him. Good for Illinois.
Yeah, and where game day is going this week is going to be Kansas. They knocked off Iowa State 14-11.
Yeah, a couple missed field goals by Iowa State could have won the game for them. You know, college kickers.
Yeah.
So not too many of the games really worthy of noting. Auburn was up big on LSU, 17-0. Then a scoop and score for LSU leads to...
I think it was like 5 yards passing.
Yeah, basically leads to 21 unanswered points for LSU. Mm-hmm. They come back and win on the Plains. Harson's done. We all kind of know that. He's out of there. But I thought Auburn had some fighting in the beginning of the game. That just one little scoop and score just turned the whole tide.
Yep. Well, let's talk about next week's games.
All right.
All right. There's no Thursday night game. We have Wednesday night game. SMU, University of Central Florida.
Central Florida, I'll watch that.
Yeah, $6. You can go to that game. Yeah.
And they got a really beautiful stadium, beautiful campus.
Orlando.
It says 2017 National Champions on the side of their stadium. Mm-hmm. The police cars, campus police cars say 2017 National Champions.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Friday night, October 7th, we got Nebraska at Rutgers. You can get that ticket for $27.
I'm going to be forced to watch that game, aren't I?
It's the only game that's on that looks interesting.
Because we got to get up real early to go to the game next Saturday, so I'm going to be watching.
You got to get up real early to go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't wrangle. Well, I'm sure someone's going to have an extra ticket if you want to ride.
It'd be fine. I need to chill out here. Next Saturday, we got a noon game. We got Michigan versus Indiana. That's going to be in Memorial Stadium. That's going to be in Indiana. Should be a
fairly easy win for Michigan, in my opinion. But that game right there, the noon kick. Tennessee at LSU, noon kickoff. So that means it's 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. Baton Rouge time. That's going to be a huge game.
This is a scary game to me if I'm Tennessee because they got Alabama next week.
Yep. Looking ahead to Alabama, they know Georgia's not looking good.
No, they get the whole season ahead of them. They take care of LSU. They could do something. They go to, I don't know if they're going to Knoxville or they're going to... Tuscaloosa next week.
It's in Knoxville.
Okay, so they got everything riding.
They got everything riding. I mean, you cannot overlook LSU. I do think their QB for LSU got hurt yesterday, but I can't really be 100% sure. I think I heard that. But Tennessee's a really good football team. Yeah. And the one thing about Heupel's offense is you don't have to recruit high 4-star and 5-star players, the entire roster. They're not super deep. But they've got some good skill guys. You can recruit those 3-star athletes from Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, coach them up. And with that type of offense, as long as you get a good quarterback, you're going to score some points. So you don't have to out-athlete everybody. It's the scheme, which is such a great thing for Tennessee right now. I mean, it gives them kind of some hope.
Yeah.
They're a number 8 team in the country in the top 10. They're looking good. Yeah, they're looking really good. They're playing pretty well defensively, although I thought against Florida, they made Florida look a lot better than they were offensively. But this is a huge game for them. You cannot overlook LSU.
Mm-hmm. Another noon game. TCU is taking on Kansas. It's in Manhattan.
Top 20 matchup for Kansas. It probably hadn't happened in a
long
time.
Game day is going to be in town. This is a big one.
I'm going to say right now, they're not used to winning like this. Game day is going to be in town. You got a ranked opponent, TCU, coming off a huge victory against Oklahoma. TCU's kind of been there before, okay? Kansas ain't ready for the big stage. Kansas going down, first loss of the week this weekend. First loss of the year.
Arkansas got Mississippi State at noon. Mississippi State, they still could do something this year. They're going to upset somebody they ain't supposed to beat. They got the gauntlet coming up. They got Alabama and a few other big names on the list. But they got Arkansas at home at noon. Missouri, Florida, noon next week.
Texas, Oklahoma, noon next week.
Yep. Cotton Bowl.
Red River Shootout.
Yeah.
I refuse to call it the Red River Rivalry. It was always the shootout. Now they want to, we can't say shoot.
PC it.
Yeah, it's the Red River Shootout. Yeah. It's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
Hopefully Dylan Gabriel's okay. I don't think he's going to play, but hopefully he's okay and plays because I think that having both teams loaded is going to be great. I believe
Ewers is going to be back.
Ewers is going to be back for this game, I think. So that's going to be great for Texas. Texas won yesterday against West Virginia. Really looking forward to watching this game. I hope this is the one they have on the tailgate, but I bet they won't.
Yeah. Cincinnati's got South Florida at 2:30. Auburn, Georgia, 3:30.
Deep South's oldest rivalry, unranked Auburn against number 2 Georgia. this series, the team that always had the most to lose usually ended up losing against a team that had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I'm still picking Georgia to win this game, but Auburn's coming with nothing to lose. Brian Harson's a dead man walking. Either way, I'm convinced that Auburn, the only way he survives is if Auburn just wins out the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And even then it's iffy because he's not their guy.
Yeah.
But that would be a fun game. I'll be at this game. Always fun watching Georgia-Auburn. It's a huge rivalry no matter how good or bad either or both of the teams are.
Right.
It's a great rivalry. A couple of years ago, they came into Athens as like the top 10 team. Unranked Georgia just put it on them. So you never know. That could happen again this Saturday. I don't expect it to. This is a different Georgia team.
Yeah.
2 weeks of playing subpar football.
I don't see that happening.
And not doing the fundamentals. It's not like Georgia's getting beat. They're not doing the fundamentals the right way, and it's making their efforts to win much more difficult. I think they get most of that corrected this week and get a good win against Auburn.
Yeah. I think they might have been overlooking Missouri to get to Auburn.
Probably.
But, it is what it is. Oklahoma State takes on Texas Tech. And this is one of those games where Oklahoma State's got everything to lose.
Yep.
Don't lose to Texas Tech.
Yeah. This is a game that you could kind of circle and be like, I can see them losing this game. I don't think it's going to happen. They don't seem like the same old Oklahoma State to me.
Yeah. But we'll see.
That's going to be a big game. Utah
UCLA.
at UCLA, a top 20 matchup.
Yep. UCLA hasn't had a big game in God knows
Long
how
time.
long. But
And my boss is a Utah season ticket holder, so I always try to watch Utah's games if possible. If I can't watch them, I'll try to follow along online, so I'll be paying attention to this game. I think Utah is a really good football team. They lost their tight end for the season. They got to find some more weapons, but I think they're going to pull it out.
yeah. Let's see. At 4 o'clock, we got Ohio State at Michigan State. Maybe Michigan State can kind of get it together.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Horrible pass defense. And now they can't do anything on offense. Lost their third game in a row yesterday. Ohio State, I don't care that they're on the road. They're going to see Michigan State's terrible pass defense start throwing it around with those 15 to 20 future NFL first-round draft picks. And they're going to embarrass Michigan State. And then Michigan State fans, after this fourth loss in a row, are going to be like, why are we paying Mel Tucker $500,000 every 5 seconds?
Yeah, he'll be fine. Ole Miss at Vanderbilt. Ole Miss is probably on the roll.
Yeah.
We got Washington at Arizona State. Maybe Washington can get right and take care of Arizona State.
They should. I think they will.
Be an issue.
North Carolina, Miami. 2 unranked teams, but teams that can score some points and not play any defense.
Right.
Kind of might be an interesting game to watch. It's kind of battle of the second-tier SEC, ACC programs.
Right.
Who's going to step up and maybe challenge Clemson? Who knows?
Yeah. See what else we got. We got Clemson at 7:30 against Boston College.
Yeah.
Washington
State at USC. This should be an interesting game, but USC should win.
Kentucky is taking on South Carolina at home. That should be a Kentucky get right game, hopefully. You got Wake Forest taking on Army at 7:30. BYU at Notre Dame. This is an interesting game. It'd be kind of curious if BYU keeps winning. Their schedule is pretty deep.
Yeah, I mean,
They're playing a lot of big
BYU
games.
always schedules some good out-of-conference games. Yeah, they're not a bad football team.
Well, they're
they
independent.
never are, but
They're
sometimes they
independent,
get bit because they schedule a lot of good non-conference Power 5 teams. They kind of get bit in the ass a little bit, but they're a good football team. Be a fun game to watch.
Kansas State is at Iowa State next Saturday night.
There's the big one right there. A&M at Alabama. Unranked. Love saying that word in front of Texas A&M's name. Unranked. Texas A&M taking on number 1, Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama got beat